LeBron James just said what the entire NBA was scared to admit about Victor Wembanyama, and now fans are losing their minds. During the Western Conference Finals, Wemby absolutely destroyed the defending champion Thunder with a historic 41 points and 24 rebounds in double overtime. At just 21 years old, he looked completely unstoppable, becoming the first player since Wilt Chamberlain to drop 40 and 20 in a conference finals debut. But then LeBron stepped in, and his comments shocked everybody. LeBron made it clear that Wemby's dominance is not just about height. According to him, the scary part is that Victor moves like a guard while being 7'4". He can dribble, isolate defenders, shoot from anywhere, and even cook elite defenders like Rudy Gobert on the perimeter. And that's where NBA fans started panicking. Because if Wembanyama is already doing this in only his second season, what happens when he fully figures the league out? The Spurs may have landed the next face of basketball, and LeBron basically confirmed it himself. LeBron James knew Victor Wembanyama was different before the NBA even got a chance to see him. Back in 2023, after watching Wemby dominate in France, LeBron said the one word that instantly went viral: alien, not unicorn, not generational. Alien. LeBron admitted he had never seen a player that tall move with that much skill, fluidity, and control. And honestly, Wemby loved it. He even said he prefers being called an alien because he wants to become something the basketball world has never seen before. And looking at what happened next, maybe LeBron saw the future before everyone else did. Before entering the NBA, Wembanyama was already averaging insane numbers overseas while scouts called him the most hyped prospect since LeBron himself. But then things took a scary turn when doctors diagnosed him with deep vein thrombosis in his shoulder during his second NBA season. The entire basketball world froze. For a moment, people genuinely wondered if his career was in danger. But instead of breaking him, the situation completely changed him. Wemby disappeared from the spotlight and went on a wild off-season journey, training with Hakeem Olajuwon, studying kung fu with Shaolin monks in China, practicing meditation, body control, and mental discipline. And when he finally came back, people around the league said he looked like a completely different monster. Stronger, sharper, more focused, almost unstoppable. Which is exactly why LeBron's comments are hitting different now. Because the NBA is starting to realize this alien might really become the next face of basketball. LeBron James didn't just drop a casual compliment about Victor Wembanyama. He delivered a full breakdown that had NBA fans rethinking everything they thought they knew. On his Mind the Game podcast, LeBron immediately shut down the idea that Wemby is dominating just because of height. And he made one thing clear: the NBA has always had tall players. Ralph Sampson, Mark Eaton, Jorge Murison, Taco Fall, even first overall picks like Michael Olowokandi. Big bodies have come and gone in this league for decades, but most of them were predictable, slow, limited, one-dimensional. LeBron's point: height alone means nothing. Then he flipped the conversation completely, because what makes Wembanyama terrifying isn't that he's 7 feet 4 inches. It's how he moves like he's 6 feet 6 inches. Elite coordination, unreal balance, guard-level control in a center's body. He can catch the ball off balance, read the rim instantly, and still finish like it's second nature. And then there's the skill set: step-back threes, spin moves, snatchbacks, fadeaways, all from a player that size. That's not normal basketball. That's a mismatch the league has never prepared for. LeBron summed it up without even fully saying it. Wembanyama isn't just another tall prospect. He's something the NBA has never seen before. LeBron James didn't just react to Victor Wembanyama, he dissected him. And the more you listen to his Mind the Game breakdown, the more you realize he's not talking about a 7'4" freak athlete. He's talking about something far more dangerous. LeBron keeps using one word: feel. Not height, not athleticism, not height. Feel, the kind of instinct coaches can't teach in practice. The ability to sense space, read angles, finish plays before they fully develop. Soft hands, natural touch, spatial awareness, the stuff you either have or you don't. And Wembanyama has it at a level that shouldn't exist for someone his size. Because this isn't just a tall player finishing at the rim. This is a 7 feet 4 inches guy pulling up for step-back threes, snatchbacks, fadeaways, spins, and up and unders like a guard, while also reading defenses like a veteran point guard. LeBron even highlighted the absurdity in one line that hits different when you slow it down: step-back threes at 7'4". Just let that sit. The NBA has seen shooting big men before, but it has never seen a player at that size who can stretch defenses from deep and anchor the paint as a defensive nightmare. And the numbers only make it crazier. After everything, the blood clot scare, the months out, the recovery, the kung fu training, the Hakeem Olajuwon sessions, Wembanyama came back and put up a stat line that only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has ever touched territory with: elite scoring, elite rebounding, elite playmaking, and elite rim protection all in one season. At that point, even LeBron couldn't just comment on it. He had to break it down on a podcast in real time, like a coach watching something the league hasn't fully figured out yet. Because what Wembanyama is doing doesn't just bend the game, it's starting to rewrite it. The most striking moment in LeBron James' entire breakdown wasn't about highlights, stats, or even Wembanyama's skill. It was one sentence, and it changed the tone completely. LeBron didn't speak about Victor Wembanyama as a future star or even a developing superstar. He spoke about him like he already belongs in a very specific category, the same one occupied by the greatest big men in NBA history. In his breakdown, LeBron praised the San Antonio Spurs for once again landing a rare generational talent, saying they've been lucky as hell with players who have elite IQ, discipline, and a dead serious mentality. Then he lined it up directly: David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and now Wembanyama. That comparison isn't casual. It's loaded. David Robinson wasn't just great. He was a 2-time champion, a 5-time All-NBA selection, and one of the most dominant two-way centers the league has ever seen. Tim Duncan went even further: 5 championships, 15 15 All-Star appearances, and a legacy that still defines what consistency and winning basketball look like. These aren't good company names. These are franchise-defining legends. Top-of-the-era, system-changing big men. And LeBron placing Wembanyama in that same lineage isn't hype. It's a statement. Because LeBron isn't speaking as a fan. He's speaking as someone who went head-to-head with Duncan in the NBA Finals. Someone who knows exactly what that level looks like when it's real. So when he says Wembanyama belongs in that conversation, it hits differently. Not as potential, not as projection, but as something the league is already starting to accept, whether it's ready or not. That's exactly what separates LeBron James' comments from ordinary praise, because he's not reacting like a fan. He's speaking like someone who's lived inside elite professionalism for over 2 decades. And when he places a 21-year-old Victor Wembanyama in the same sentence as David Robinson and Tim Duncan, that's not casual. That's historic level validation. LeBron didn't just mention them as great players. He described a mindset. They have this dead serious mentality, he said. Horse blinders. The mission is the mission, and that's all that matters. That phrase matters more than it sounds. Horse blinders is LeBron's way of describing players who don't get pulled into the noise. No social media distractions, no ego battles, no outside drama, just basketball, just winning, just discipline. And if you know Spurs history, it fits perfectly. David Robinson, a Hall of Fame center, a champion, and one of the most respected leaders the game has ever seen. Tim Duncan, 5 championships, quiet dominance, and a superstar who somehow stayed invisible while controlling everything. No flash, no chaos, just results. Now LeBron is saying Wembanyama belongs in that same mental category. And that's what makes it so striking, because Wemby's path hasn't been normal either, from overseas dominance to NBA expectations, to a blood clot scare that could have changed everything, to an off-season where he trained with Hakeem Olajuwon, studied Kung Fu in China, and rebuilt his approach to the game from the inside out. Even his mindset mirrors the Spurs' lineage. Calm, focused, locked in. LeBron even pointed out that you can see it instantly. The way Wembanyama talks, the way he carries himself, the way he processes the game. No noise, no panic, just understanding. And Wembanyama has returned that respect just as directly. When asked in an interview who he thinks is the most underrated player in the league, he didn't hesitate. LeBron James, he said that in a league full of noise, hype, and ego, that kind of mutual recognition between 2 generational players says everything. Point 1 is at the end of a legendary career. The other might just be at the beginning of something the league hasn't fully measured yet. Underrated just means you're not rated at your right value, right? Wembanyama said, I think LeBron's underrated. And that line, simple as it sounds, carries a lot more weight than a typical press conference answer. Because this wasn't a young player chasing headlines or saying something for attention. This was Victor Wembanyama, the most hyped prospect in basketball in years, standing in front of reporters and choosing to elevate LeBron James instead of himself. That's not a media-trained answer. That's perspective. It's the kind of response you only give when you actually watch film, study careers, and understand what it means to sustain greatness over decades, not just seasons. LeBron James noticed that immediately, because he recognizes that mindset better than anyone. It's the same intellectual honesty he uses when he evaluates other players, not just what they do in highlights, but how they think, how they prepare, how they carry the game mentally. And LeBron has been very clear about Wembanyama's foundation. His dominance isn't just physical, it's mental. You can tell by the way he talks, LeBron said. You can tell by his demeanor. He knows the game. That's not casual praise. That's recognition of a player who understands structure, spacing, timing, and decision-making at a level far beyond his age. And it all feeds into something bigger, the way LeBron thinks about the future of roster building in the NBA. When asked what teams should look for in the next generation of franchise players, he didn't overcomplicate it. He made it almost painfully simple. Find a player with Giannis-level athleticism. Find a player with Jokic-level vision. Or find a player like Wembanyama. That's not hyped. That's a 20-year veteran. One of the greatest to ever play. Pointing at a 21-year-old and essentially saying, this is the blueprint now. In other words, LeBron isn't just watching Wembanyama develop. He's already using him as a reference point for what the next era of basketball might look like. Build everything around finding the next version of that. That's the kind of sentence that quietly exposes how the league is thinking about Victor Wembanyama now. Not as a rising star, but as a prototype for entire franchises to chase. And it explains why LeBron James' comments didn't land like normal praise. He wasn't just acknowledging talent. He was describing the early shape of something that could define a generation of basketball, and potentially the next Spurs dynasty, because in LeBron's framing, San Antonio hasn't just drafted well. They may have done it again in the most important way possible. A franchise cornerstone who changes the direction of everything around him. But what made LeBron's breakdown genuinely unusual in the NBA media ecosystem is that he didn't stop at admiration. He went further, into strategy. When asked directly how you even begin to stop Wembanyama, LeBron answered with full tactical detail, not theory, not cliches, actual breakdown. And that matters for a specific reason. LeBron had just been eliminated from the playoffs by the Oklahoma City Thunder, the same team now facing Wembanyama in the Western Conference Finals. He didn't just watch OKC on tape. He lived it. He felt their defensive pressure firsthand. He knows their rotations, their coverages, their timing. So when he speaks about stopping Wemby, it isn't speculation. It's post-mortem insight from a team that just survived him. And even then, the conclusion wasn't comfort, it was limitation. Because the blueprint LeBron described wasn't a solution. It was damage control. Ways to slow him, disrupt him, make things harder. Not stop him, just reduce the chaos slightly. And that's the real takeaway hidden inside his analysis. Even when you apply elite defensive strategy, even when you use one of the best defensive teams in the league league as your reference point, even when you break down every angle with 20 years of experience behind it. Victor Wembanyama still doesn't become stoppable. He just becomes a little less inevitable. When Steve Nash asked LeBron James how to limit Victor Wembanyama on the game, LeBron kept it simple, but it actually revealed how impossible the problem is. It's about personnel, LeBron said. Can you put 5 guys on the floor who can shoot, pass, or dribble? That's the key. Because LeBron explained that only a few teams can even try it, like OKC, Cleveland, or New York, with lineups full of versatile, skill-heavy players. Most teams don't have that luxury. And even then, it's not really a solution. The idea is to pull Wembanyama away from the rim using pick-and-roll actions and spacing, forcing him to defend in space instead of protecting the paint, where he's at his most dangerous as a weak-side shot blocker. But LeBron's real point was this: if even one player on the floor can't shoot or create, Wemby can just drop back, protect the rim, and erase everything again, so the strategy doesn't stop him. It just tries to slow down something that already feels unstoppable. LeBron James made one thing clear on Mind the Game: you don't stop Victor Wembanyama, you only try to make him slightly less dangerous. When he used the word manipulate, he immediately corrected himself, showing the truth. You can't control Wemby, you can only put him in tougher positions. The real strategy, LeBron explained, is forcing him into pick-and-roll defense, pulling him away from the rim so he can't stay in his weak-side shot-blocking role. But even that has limits, because if spacing isn't perfect, Wembanyama just drops back to the paint and becomes unstoppable again. Against OKC, multiple defenders and coverages were tried, but nothing truly worked. Victor Wembanyama has been on an absolutely historic run in the Western Conference Finals, averaging around 31 points, 25 rebounds, 4 to 5 assists, and 3 to 5 blocks per game. These aren't normal NBA numbers. They look like something out of a video game. Against a championship-level Oklahoma City Thunder team, he's producing at a level no modern player has ever sustained in a series of this magnitude. Scoring, rebounding, playmaking, rim protection, he's impacting everything, everywhere, all at once. And after watching it unfold, LeBron James didn't hesitate to speak on it. On his podcast, he admitted what many around the league are starting to realize: that man is doing things our league has never seen before. Then he broke it down. According to LeBron, there is a theoretical way to slow Wembanyama down, but only with perfect personnel, elite spacing, and constant pick-and-roll pressure to pull him away from the rim. Even then, LeBron made the reality very clear: it doesn't stop him. It only makes him slightly less effective. That's the key line. Not contained, not neutralized, just slightly reduced. And coming from LeBron James, one of the highest basketball IQ players of all time, that verdict says everything the league needs to hear. Because if slightly less effective is the best case scenario, then the rest of the NBA is already behind. He's only 22, and Victor Wembanyama is already playing like an unstoppable. Even Steve Nash pointed out what should worry the entire league: he's still not even close to his peak. LeBron James actually saw this coming early. Back in 2023, before Wemby had even played a single NBA game, he called him an alien. At the time, it sounded like hype. Now, it feels like an understatement, because 3 years later, on the biggest stage in basketball, Wembanyama isn't just living up to expectations, he's blowing past them, dominating games in ways that don't fit normal NBA logic. And the same LeBron who gave him that nickname is now on a podcast explaining just how hard it is to deal with him, and admitting there may not be a real answer. At just 21 to 22 years old, Wembanyama already looks like a franchise-altering force capable of bringing San Antonio back into championship contention. And if LeBron is right, the scary part isn't what he is right now, it's what he's about to become.